Hi, this is Joe Bolen, and welcome to learning about VisualBasic.net. Well, in the last video, video number 63, we began to learn how to create a database by using Microsoft's Access application to create a simple database. So if you haven't done that, go back to video 63 and see how to create that database. Once you have the database created, then let's proceed forward with bringing that database into our VisualBasic.net application. Now, for this particular video, I'm not going to spend much time on the details of what we're doing and to understand the different components that are being used. Rather, I'd like to just get your appetite whet to the fact that Visual Studio is a fantastic, rapid application development environment that will quickly create code for us, as well as we can modify some of that code to create an application very quickly. So let's get into it by first going in and taking a look at our database once again. I have up on the screen the Microsoft Access, and I have our two tables, our orders table, where we have a foreign key of the customer ID in the orders table. I have the order dates, the quantities, very simple, very somewhat crude table. And then I have the customer table, and I have just three customers. Once again, we have the customer ID, which is an auto number field that'll add the ID automatically as records are added. I have the customer name, and I have the customer contact, which I see I made a mistake in spelling Mr. Griffin's name, and then our phone number for the contact. So this is our basic one. It's called SimpleDB, and I want to show you again that inside that we have in our data tools under relationship, we have a relationship between the two tables that's been established, one-to-many on our customer ID, with the orders customer ID being the foreign key to the primary key of customers. Okay, well, we've got that set. Let's close out the database, and I'm going to actually exit out of Microsoft Access, so we'll have it freed up. And now I'm in Visual Studio, and so let's create a brand new project. And this project, we're going to create a Windows Form application project. Now, the .NET framework that I'm using is the current one I have installed. You might have a lower level, and that's okay. As you develop projects, you might want to take advantage of the higher level .NET framework levels to take advantage of some of the improvements and additions to the .NET framework. Now, let's call our project MS Access First App. And that's going to be our name of our project, MS Access First App. Hit OK. And we've got our form set. First thing I'm going to do is come over to the Solution Explorer on my right side and rename the form on that to I'll call it just a main form. Then I'm going to go to the main form itself, highlight it in our designer, and I'm going to go full screen at this point in time. And in here, what I want to do is I want to, first of all, set the font properties for the form, and I'm going to go with Seago UI, which is what is recommended by Microsoft, 9 point. And then I'm going to change the size of my form on that as I come down to the size location, and I'm going to make this 640 by 360, which keeps the relationship of my monitor. And I'm going to use for the start position center screen, and I'm going to give a title for this particular one, our customer orders maintenance program, and that gives us our title. So I've changed the text for our form, center screen, size 640 by 360, And also I've changed the default font for the base form to Seago UI 9 point. And I'm going to come up to the Save All, and we'll save our project, and I'm going to save it in my projects folder. I'm going to give it the name and solution name that I have and hit save. Okay, we've got it saved at this point. Now let's begin the process. Now, if you do not see data source on your left side, come up to the view, and you'll come down and you can find the data source option by going to other windows, and you'll see data sources. I'm going to come over here though and click on it, and I have add new data source. And we're going to be working with a database that we just created, so I'm going to hit next, and we're going to have a data set for this one. Now we'll talk more about what a data set is later on, but for now just accept it, and we're going to go to new connection. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to change the data source. Right now the default that I have is Microsoft SQL Server. We're going to change this to work with Access. The Visual Studio environment in the ADO.NET allows us to reference and use different databases, and for us we're going to be using the Microsoft Access database file. You'll see Oracle and SQL and other ones available, and you can install, if you have your own particular server, maybe in a MySQL, you can install your own provider. This will allow the communication between the database and the program. So I'm going to go with Microsoft Access database file, which you'll see is a OLE DB provider. On that, I'm going to say OK. And then it's going to ask for the database file name. And at this point, I'm going to hit the Browse button, and I'm going to go to where we have our program that we created. So I'm going to go to Databases, Access Database File, and you'll see my sample DB that we created in the last video there. I'm going to hit Open. I'm going to test the communication between it, and I've got a good test, so I'm going to hit OK. Now you'll see that it's up there, ready to go, and we'll see we have a connection string. We'll talk more about the connection string, but this is where the ACE Microsoft Access engine is that accesses to the database. We hit next, and now it gives me the option to copy that database into my project. Now I can choose no, which means I'll be working against the database where it's at currently. But I'd like to copy it into my project. Perhaps later on I will want to deploy it, and this will be an embedded database in my project. So I'm going to say yes to copy. And we're going to use sample DB connection string as the name that we're going to reference, and that's fine. And you'll see that I have the option to choose what objects to bring in. And here's my customer and orders tables, and you can see that I also have the fields below them. We're going to take all the tables, and I'll just use the default name for the data set. We could change that if we wanted to. And I'm going to set finish. Okay, we have now what's called a strongly typed data set you'll see in my Solution Explorer on the right side of the screen. And also we have our database that we copied in to our project. Now this database sits in the project, and what will happen as you see the properties of that database coming down, it's seen as a content on the build action. And what will happen is it will actually copy this information, this file, into the area where we have either our debug or release version of the program. And in this case, I'm going to change it from copy always to copy if newer. And this allows me to keep the database in my debug or release area. And if I need to, I can delete those out, and then this will re-copy in on the next compile. And we'll see that in a minute. So I changed the copy to newer for the database. Let's take a look real quickly at the designer of the data set. And basically what it did, this data set represents in memory the same thing we have in our database. And you see our two tables with our different fields. Our primary keys are noted on that. Also, you'll see here a relationship between them. Now, initially it comes in just as a relationship, but we're going to change that by I'm clicking on it and saying edit relationship. Now, you'll see that the parent table is the customer table. That's the one. And the child table, which is the mini side, we can have many orders to one customer, is the child table. And what we want to do is set this as a both relationship and foreign key. And we also want to make it so that if we were to update the parent table, in this case the customer ID, we would want the foreign key of the orders to also update. So we choose Cascade for this. And also when we delete any customer, in this case the parent table, we want to also have a cascade effect of deleting all the children orders in this case, so we don't orphan our orders without a customer. Also, I'm going to change the accept and reject rules to cascade as well. So we have that set, and I've edited it. I'll say OK. OK, I'm going to hit Save All, and then I'm going to close out my data set. Now, let's come over here to Data Source. Once again, if you do not see it, you can bring it in from the View area and pull that in, and you'll see that we have our data source, our tables that we have brought in. And I'm going to hit the little arrows to the side, and you'll see them. Now, I also want you to note, because of that relationship of the customer being the parent table to the orders, we'll see that we also have orders in two places. Here we see it in the parent-child relationship. Here it's standalone as just orders. We want to work with the parent-child relationship. So when we talk about bringing in the orders into our program, we want to bring the one from the customer side. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the customer area, and I'm going to change it from its default data grid view to come in with details. And once I have that selected, I'm going to then come over here and drag this over, drop it on my form, and very quickly I've got my 4 field labels and my 4 fields. Now, since customer ID is an auto number field, we're not going to allow the user to edit this. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to come over to my properties window on the right side and change the properties of this one to a read-only situation and make it read-only true. And you'll see that it is now grayed out. And also I'm going to change it so it doesn't have tab stop, so I'm going to make tab stop false. Okay, now that did that automatically. And we have also some components, the navigation bar for our customer file area. And you'll see that I have down here a component tray that has a number of things. It has our data set, our customer binding source, and this we'll learn more about the binding source later on. We have a table adapter for the customer, and we also have the customer binding navigator, which is this top area up here. And we have a table adapter manager that came in. We'll learn more about those in a little bit, but let's take a look at what happened. Behind the code, I'm going to hit F7 to view code, and we'll see that it created automatically for us the code for this part. And the first thing as the form loads, it'll take the customer table adapter and fill our data set with into the customer's table. And so that's what this line of code does. And then when we were to do any kind of saving from the binding navigator, we're going to validate our data, We're going to end edit, forcing all changes to the area to be set, and then we're going to update our database with the changes. So let's actually see this now. I'm going to just go up and hit start, and you'll see that very quickly I have a maintenance program, and I can use the navigator to move forward or backward, or jump very quickly to the end or to the beginning. I can also hit an add if I want to add a record. I can delete this record out, and I can save a change. So let's do some things here. I'm going to do an add, and you'll see it became a -1, and we'll see that. I'm going to put in Bolen computers. Okay. I'm going to use my name, and I'll make up a fictitious phone number, and I'll hit the save button. And it's there, but you will notice that one problem we've got is it still has a -1 there. Now I'm going to end the program, come back to our designer real quickly. I'm going to highlight this text box and hold down the control key and get this one as well and make these a little bit bigger. And what I'd like to do is rerun it now, and you'll see that my fourth record, which is the last one we entered in with me in there, now has the customer ID of 4, the auto number of access. Changed that and added it in. Let's take a quick look at our database behind the scenes. Let's come back over here, and I'm going to hit the show all files button, and you'll see the bin folder and then debug under it, and you'll see now that I have a copy of the sample DB database over in my debug folder. This is the area where I've actually been doing the changes to the record. So I'm going to highlight this, right click on it, and say open with, and I'm going to come down and use Microsoft Access, and we can go take a look at our code and see that customer that I added. So I'm going to double click on that, and you'll see that I'm in there being added into our Access database file. Hey, that's great, and I hardly did any lines of code. In fact, I didn't write anything different to let the system write it for me. Now let's add to our project. Let's go back to our customer area. Let's now go to the orders part in the relationship of parent-child, and I'm going to use, instead of the details, I'm going to keep it as a data grid, and I'm going to pull this on over, drop it in place, and I'm going to do some quick sizing here to get things set. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is come over to my properties of the data grid while I have it highlighted. You'll see it already has a name, Order Data Grid View. And I'm going to scroll down and set some of the data grid properties very quickly. The anchor one is what I'm going to set first. So I have it anchored on all sides. And then I'm also going to change it to, on the one that allows the user to order the columns, I'm going to allow them to order it. So I have true through here. And I also want to change it so that when the data grid shows, the alternating color of the row will change. So I'm going to hit here, hit the web, go to white smoke. And that'll change the alternating rows to have a little bit different color. Then I'm going to come down to auto size column mode, change that to display cells, and then also I'm going to change the column header auto size from auto size to enable resizing, and that will get that part set. Now I'm going to come over to the Smart GIF and do some quick editing. So I'm going to hit edit columns, and what I'm going to do is, first of all, change the column headings here real quickly so they look a little bit more user-friendly. So I'm going to go to header text, change that with a space in between. I'm going to do that for our different fields. And we could actually rename it if we'd like to a different name, maybe just quantity instead of order quantity. I've got that set. Now, order quantity is a numeric field, so I'm going to go to the Datagrid View Cell Style, click on the ellipsis button, and I'm going to hit the Format area, and you'll see that one of the options is numeric. And I'm going to make this a numeric with no decimal points. Say OK, and you'll see it as an N0 format. Also, I want to align my numerics to right, middle right. Keep everything lined up and say OK on that one. I'm going to come up to order date. And I'm going to do also the default cell style. And here for the date, I'll hit the format button. And what I'll show you first of all is that we come down to date time. And you'll see that I have a number of different formats I can choose. I'll go with the short date type right now. And that's the D format. But I'm going to override that and use my own. And I'm going to use year dash month dash day. And since I'm doing it this way, you'll see that the alignment will be fine, which will default to the left line. I'm going to say OK to that. Now, customer ID is one that I also want to control. Customer ID comes in from our customer master, and I don't want to allow the user to change this. So I'm going to change this to read only as true. Now you'll see order ID is in fact read only is on the customer ID. We want to change that to read only as well. So we've got order ID is read only and customer ID is read only. And those are set. We've got everything set there. And we can see now that things are all set in our header. One last thing I'm going to do is make the header bold. I'm going to go back to my code. And what I'm going to do in the load event of the form, I'm going to change the data grid so the header's set. So I'm going to go to orders, data grid view, the column, default headers, default cell style, font. And I'm going to change that to a new font. And I'm going to use the orders data grid view font that we currently have, but I'm going to change it to have a font style of bold. I'm going to hit that. Now, another thing I need to change in this program is now we have a situation where we have also our orders being loaded in, but the orders are the children, not the parent. And we have a situation where we do not want to have any children in place without a parent. So we need to load this after our customer table is filled. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to Control X to cut it, and then I'm going to put it underneath here and paste it there so the order's right. So now I have the parent and then the child tables loaded on that. One other thing I need to do is, because of the way we're processing things, as we finish, we see that we have, and do a save, we have the customer binding source end edit. But we don't have automatically in place the orders. So I'm going to add the orders binding source end edit now. That takes care of that. Now there's one situation that can happen. As I add a new row to my data grid view, I also want to make certain that I process and in edit on my customer table side of things. So what I'm going to do is create an event that we can take care of when we add a new row. So I'm going to go back to the code. I'm going to go up to the top here to the orders binding source. Click on orders binding source, and then the event that I'm looking for is when we do an add new to the data grid, and that will fire off when that happens. And what I want to do here is do a ME customer binding source end edit as well. So when I have a new record in the Datagrid view, I want to force an end edit. So this is all I need for the code to make this work in a way. We'll find out there's going to be a little bit of a problem, but I've got everything set. I've got my Datagrid view here. I'm going to change my form just a little bit. Bring this in now. And I'm going to bring this up just a little bit. And that looks pretty nice. I'm not really centered here, so let's get that centered. I'll do format, center, and form. And I'm going to say center it horizontally. We've got it all centered. Okay, let's run it. And you'll see that I actually have it working. And you'll see the widget company has 3 orders out there. And as I move forward, you'll see that I have 1 order for the Gadget Enterprise on that. And I can move forward and also have thingamajigs. And we haven't created any orders yet for Bolen computers. So let's add a new order. I'm going to add one for today. So I'll do 7/14/2015. And I'll have 50 ordered on that, and I'll hit save. And you'll see that this hasn't changed here. And we're going to see that this is a problem with Microsoft Access. The primary key with Microsoft Access does not change automatically like we'll see it occurring with our Microsoft SQL DB and SQL Server. And I'll show you a workaround for this, but for now, it is being saved. Also, I can delete records out on that. And so I come over here, I can click on a record. And let's go with this one in the middle here, and I'll hit the delete button. It goes out. I'll hit the save afterwards. Now let me rerun this. I'll close it out, rerun it. It's back up. You'll see now that we have orders in there, and I'm going to come through, and the one I deleted out is gone. And I'll go to the last one where I added one, and it's there. I can also add a customer record. I'm just going to test here, and we'll just say I put something here, and I can go ahead and add something, but I can't at this point in time add anything down here because this field has not been updated yet. We have to have this updated so that when we add our orders, this field has the right information. So I'm going to hit save here, and I can go back and forth, and it'll still be -1 until I start the program again. And I will do that once more on that. Let's go to the end where I just did that, and you'll see now it does have a customer ID. I can now add a record on that. And we'll go with 100, and I'll hit add. And once again, the order ID, which is the primary key for the orders field, is not updated, but in fact the record has been updated. We're going to learn how to deal with that, but hey, we've already got ourselves going with this program. We've been able to create very quickly a simple Microsoft Access database program. And I'm going to show you in a minute that we actually did update the database. I'll bring back Access. We'll look at it in Access, but we did it in Microsoft Visual Basic. We used what's called the OLEDB provider to bring it in, and we'll learn more about those things later on in other videos. But for right now, I just want you to get your appetite whet with the idea that we created a very simple maintenance program initially of the customer table. Then we brought in the parent-child relationship of customer to order, and we showed that we could have those in sync. We could edit them, and if I were to delete with the cascading event, I could delete a customer and all the orders would go away. If for some reason I would to change the primary key of the customer, all the children of the orders would have their foreign key changed as well, because we changed that in our relationship in the data set. So we've done a lot already, and we've got it going. But we got to fix that problem with the primary key. And in the next video, we're going to do the Microsoft Access primary key fix. And I'm going to show you how you have to adjust that to fix that primary key to make those records update automatically for you. So stay tuned, get your hands dirty in the code, try out this program and learn about it. And before we go, let's take a look again at our table. And I'm going to bring back the table. I'm going to come over here to our sample DB, right click on it, and I'm going to open it with Microsoft Access. Okay, and let's take a look at the customer table. There it is. There's my test one I just put in, and we can also see our orders on that we put in. There are the new ones that I just put in during the run of this particular video. And so we've updated our Microsoft Access database in Visual Basic. And if we later on wanted to publish this, we could publish this such that the database would go with it. And you could have a nice little project. Once again, you have the limitations of Microsoft Access. And we saw that we have to adjust our program later on to fix the primary key issue of it not being updated right away. And this is a limitation of Microsoft Access. And I'll show you later on why this happens and also how to fix it. So get your hands dirty in the code, try this out, and the next time we'll do the Microsoft Access primary key fix. Take care.